Hello, everyone, and welcome to our second happy hour of this year. My name is Hannah Foxwell. I'm the founder of AI for the Rest of Us, and today I'm chatting to Ricardo, Shilpi, Jamie, and Whitney. I'm going to let these amazing folks introduce themselves. Ricardo, who are you? What do you do?
Hello, and thank you for having me on this stream. So I'm Ricardo. I am a developer advocate at AWS. And what do I do? That's a good question. Existential one. So I kind of like at the moment, I'm kind of deep into AI coding assistants and trying to figure out how they work and then sharing what I figure out with everyone else. And it's quite a lot of fun, I think. So never a dull day. It changes from day to day. So yeah, so that's kind of what I do these days.
Amazing. And I'm sure there's some folks that would love to pick your brain about that. Shilpi, we're going to jump to you next. Give us a little intro to yourself.
Thank you. So I am a co-founder at a company called Kaizen Tech, and basically what people know us for is we've got two really popular podcasts, so Cloud Security Podcast and AI Security Podcast. But we also run an advisory where we're helping a lot of the Fortune 500 companies like migrate things into AI, like what do they need to worry about security and all of that. So yeah, kind of similar to Ricardo. I actually don't know. My day to day is very, very like different on any given day, and there's lots of moving pieces. But yeah, those are kind of like the broader pieces that I work across.
Awesome. And Jamie, when you're not writing books, what are you up to these days?
It's the other way around. When I'm not at work, what am I doing? I work for a company called Container Solutions. I'm the co-founder of CS, it's a professional service firm. And last year, I did bring together a project I've been sort of kicking the tires on for ages, which is Visionaries, Rebels and Machines, the posters behind me. Nowadays, there's a new chief executive, which is great. So I do everything in my old job to do with customers, but I don't manage anybody. And I'm happy for the first time in a decade. Can you believe it?
That sounds awesome. That sounds awesome. I'm going to ask you more about the book and your talk in a minute. But Whitney, let's go to you next.
Hello, my name is Whitney Lee. I am a senior technical advocate at Datadog, and I just get to play around with brand new tech and talk to the community and bring some of that feedback back to Datadog. But I make a ton of content. I write blog posts. I have a YouTube channel. I speak at conferences. I have a podcast. I just talk a lot.
I love that. Maybe that should be your like LinkedIn sort of banner. I just play with tech and talk a lot. But one thing that I was going to say is that actually, like, all of you have this sort of shared thing where you're all like educators and you're just like, you have this like natural curiosity about technology, not just for your own sort of like personal projects, but you're the people who are out there in the world sharing what you learn. And I think that is so important. It's one of the reasons that I created AI for the Rest of Us. Like the original sort of story of how it came into being is because I was teaching myself about AI, and I was like, oh, wouldn't it be great if I had like a community to learn all of this stuff with? And so I went looking for it, and there was like the very deeply technical like machine learning and like AI engineering community, and I was like, well, that's not quite right for me. That's not where I live. And then there was the sort of user level of stuff, like, okay, here's how you write a prompt, and the magic black box does magical things. We don't ask questions, and so I was like, well, no, that wasn't for me either. And so that's where AI for the Rest of Us came from. It was sort of my desire to sort of learn, but also to kind of to get to a point where I could share that and teach. I'm going to do a very quick plug for the conference, which is happening less than a week from now. 15th and 16th. One of the things that has brought these four incredible humans into my life is that they are speaking and sharing their knowledge at our 2-day conference, which is happening at the Museum of London. We kick off on Wednesday and Thursday next week. And anyone who is tuning in on this Friday afternoon, joining us for our happy hour, can get a 25% discount off the ticket using code LIVE25. So that is my very, very smooth little segue into having a little chat about what knowledge are you actually sharing? at AI for the Rest of Us next week. Ricardo, you said you're spending most of your time in DevTools. What are you going to be teaching us next week?
Yes, well, so mine is 0 slides, which is good, always good. No slides.
No boring, only good vibes. No boring slides.
Yeah.
That is my motto.
So I'm gonna attempt through the medium of dance. No, not through the medium of dance, because that would be horrible.
Oh, if you would, I'd be game. Yes.
Yeah, no, I don't think anyone wants to watch me dance. But I will be building an app and sharing as I do that good practices, current good practices, because they change all the time. It's crazy. And if I've done this talk about 20 times this year, and every single time it changes because the tools change, the best practices change, because of like what you're trying to do here, right? As a community, this tech is still very shiny, very new, maybe even a little bit kind of like unformed. And what I love is the fact that people, developers out there in the audience watching, are actually the folks that are coming up with all the really cool tips and tricks and then sharing it. So some of those I've learned from. Some of them I actually find and share as well. So it's really kind of like building an app and sharing good practices so that everyone can improve how they use the tools. And that's the hope anyway. So yeah, so it should be half an hour of fun if the demo goddess is going to be kind to me, which so far, touch wood, this year, with the exception of once in Poland where it didn't. But yeah, so it's going to be a lot of fun. Either way, I hope people will enjoy learning the tips so they can use it themselves, and as they use these AI tools, it'll work. The tips I share and basically what I'll be doing should work wherever, and whatever tools you're using.
Will you tell me one tip, a teaser?
Yes, I will. Personas are very key.
Okay.
So, what do I mean by personas? So these AI tools are fantastic, right? But they're pretty dumb, right? They're stateless, so they are there to be manipulated. So the key to using AI coding assistants is understanding how to manipulate them. And one of the cool ways of doing that is by creating a bunch of personas. So good example, I have a software engineer persona, an architect persona, a data persona. I have even a product persona. I'm not a product person. And then I will switch these personas based on different activities I'm doing. So if I want to create user stories, I'll switch to the product persona, and I get much better user stories than if I was in the software architect persona. So that's one thing I will be showing how to do.
And Ricardo, how many tips have you got?
How many tips? I've got as many tips. I've got as many tips as you've got tea bags in your chest.
I think I've got about 50 left.
Okay. I did a series of blog posts last year, 25. Actually, it was the advent of AI coding tips, right? So I did 25 up until Christmas Day. So I don't know how many I've got, but I'll probably try and squeeze in at least 15 or 20 during my session. Of course, it might all go sideways. I might only get 5 in if it all goes wrong. But the idea is to try and impart as many as possible.
So hopefully it'll all be fine with your demo. One of the things, like when I booked the venue, I was like, I've had the contract in my hands, and I was like, I'm not going to sign this contract until I've walked around the whole venue doing speed tests on the Wi-Fi.
Don't worry, I have actually
run a tech conference without good Wi-Fi. I was like...
So when was it? Was it so this week, I think it was Monday, I actually did it hotspotting off my phone.
Yes, yeah. So, actually, the 5G there is amazing because it's central London, I suppose. But they must have like a signal tower right on top of the building or something.
You say that there's no cell coverage at London Bridge Station. That's just weird.
Oh God, it's terrible. Isn't it? Any station, in fact, any station,
any station.
So yeah. I use King's Cross and I use Cannon Street, and you cannot use any of on the phone. You have to use the station Wi-Fi because there's just too many people.
I think this is a drive from the Mayor of London to encourage Londoners not to be rude to people online, but to be rude to each other. I think that's what that's all about.
Let's just
That's the
look up
default
from our
behaviour,
phones
isn't
for
it?
a second and take a moment to be rude to a stranger.
A mindful moment of hatred.
Let's keep it local.
Yeah.
Well, it is. I mean, Wi-Fi. I mean, yeah, cell coverage in certain parts of London is just awful. In fact, to be fair, I live. The nearest city to me is Canterbury, and Canterbury is even worse than London. It's like you cannot use a mobile phone, which actually changes the dynamic. You can't, go there and arrange to meet people because you can't communicate with each other. So you've got to stick to your. It's like the old days, right?
The old days where you had a plan and you stuck to it.
Yeah, you
Yes.
had a plan. At least in
Oh my gosh,
Canterbury,
I
you
love
can
that.
speak to God directly. At the cathedral.
Yes. Well, that's an interesting. So, but you say that you can speak to God there, but you can also on a Friday night or Thursday night you can do silent disco, banging techno hits on the silent thing they do there. It's amazing now. They light the cathedral up, and there's like people just moving. And when you take your headphones off, you can hear the shuffling of people. It's quite a bizarre sound.
Oh, and the singing, I love that.
Oh yeah, that as
Like,
well.
The
The
out of
screaming.
tunes. Yeah, because you realise like everyone knows the words to the chorus because everyone like, ah.
Yeah.
And then it'll just go like.
What night of the week is that? I might need to find my way there.
I know. I'm like, I need to get
They
out
don't
of
do
this.
them. They
Let's
don't do them all
go.
the time. They don't do them all the time. So you have to look. But it was a Thursday or Friday, I think. So you just have to just Google it, silent disco Canterbury Cathedral, and it'll come up.
Okay.
So yeah, so
That
definitely,
sounds- that
it's
sounds like
definitely worth checking out when they do it.
Church of England, got to get those bills paid.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah.
The adjacent possibilities, great innovation that.
Well, yeah. We're banging techno.
So, question for you, Whitney. Like, are you doing any demos in your talk next week? Are you praying to the demo gods as well? Like, how's the prep going?
The prep is done. The app is built. Everything, all the pieces are together and integrated. So I think I just jinxed everything, did I not? So what I'm demoing, so I'm on the developer track too. And what I've done is I've made an app. What the app does isn't terribly relevant. But what I've done is I've instrumented the shit out of it with OpenTelemetry. All the things you're not supposed to do when you're instrumenting for production, every little helper app, everything, whatever. I'm feeding that into a Datadog backend, but it could be any provider. And then now I have access to it through an MCP, a model context protocol server. So I have a tool in my IDE where I can access telemetry data. And so I can use that to help me plan my code, to help me debug. There are a lot of different use cases where it's been really helpful as I've been developing. And then maybe
cool. Is there maybe a mashup between you and Ricardo then? If we plug your MCP telemetry server into your
I think maybe
demo?
I might have some
After-
MCP in mind. I might. Not.
maybe I can give Ricardo a 31st tip.
Yeah.
To tell people.
You need to connect your talks, top tips with telemetry or whatever you just said in the cathedral in Canterbury. That's where you need to rock that shit.
So I need to get an MCP God server. Talk to God through MCP, right?
Yeah, and monitor him.
Yeah.
Has no one built this yet?
Datadog.
Has no one built this?
I'm not sure that's constitutional in the church. Imagine confessional. Telemetry from confessions.
Oh, yeah. Telemetry. That was the word. Telemetry.
An MCP
If
server
it's
where you just
minimized.
post your confessions and it comes back with some forgiveness. I don't know.
Yeah.
I can see a startup brewing somewhere now with that idea.
Yeah.
By the way, I don't think Church of England does confessions. It's a Catholic thing, right?
Oh, is it? Well, I'm a Catholic. Well, actually, I say I'm a Catholic. I was a Catholic. I don't do it anymore. But but yeah. So I didn't know that they didn't do confessions.
I think that's a Catholic thing. Yeah.
Oh, that figures. That totally figures.
Yeah, I'm a non-practicing Catholic.
So you are.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I tried to be a non-practicing alcoholic as well, but I don't always
It's Friday and we've got our beers. Happy times. I was actually thinking about joining this stream from the pub, and then I was.
You should have.
Oh, there's.
You should have. With the green screen behind you.
The main thing for me was, am I just going to ruin someone else's Friday night by sitting in the corner of a pub and having a conversation on my screen? Because I'm not particularly a fan of that when people do that in coffee shops with me and stuff like that. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to shuffle home and then I'm going to shuffle back to the pub again.
Later, you can post a selfie of you at the pub so we know that you mean it.
So that I made it.
Yeah.
She made it finally. No, it's I'm off out straight after this. I've worked very hard for quite a few weeks now, and like I was explaining to the folks here before we went live on the stream, like I've defeated my to-do list. I really
She showed us
have.
8 pages of to-do list.
8 pages of my
Yeah.
to-do list. The best thing about organizing events is that it's hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds. 8 pages.
She has
8
more
pages.
completed to-dos than Ricardo has tips.
I'm actually secretly jealous though, 'cause
Actually, to be
I
quite honest, there's a task on here that says reply to Paul, and I haven't replied to Paul, so I haven't quite defeated it, but I'm feeling very accomplished anyway.
I think you're a secret. You're a stationery junkie. I think, Hannah. I think that's what it is, because I'm a stationery junkie, and I'm looking enviously at your bespoke to-do list stationery. I'm thinking, oh, I need some of those in my life as well, actually.
Yes,
You'd be amazed.
yeah.
You'd be amazed how many people cannot plan their own work, who don't know what to-do list is. I've coached senior executives, and I've hired them. They didn't always last that long, who were struggling to get their heads around the work. And I was like, well, get a bit of paper, write things down, do the first one, and when you've finished it, do the second one. Because they said to me, what's the secrets of your productivity, Jamie? I said, get a bit of paper, write your shit on it. People are like, I've had people look at me, mind's blown.
Yeah, thought leader.
Wow.
It's the simple things, isn't it?
What world did they grow up in that wasn't a thing? Honestly, like at school, I was the absolute master of the revision timetable. When it was coming up to exams, there was like an A3 on my wall, glitter glue everywhere. It was beautiful, and therefore I respected it. It was my Bible, the revision timetable.
See, I'm the flip of that. I'm the complete opposite of that. I had an aversion when I was younger to-do lists for some reason. I don't know why. I think I remember listening to a radio program once, and someone said that if you do to-do lists, your memory starts to go to pot. So it kind of really stuck in my head for some reason. So I thought, I can't do to-do lists. I've got to just keep it all in my head. And for years I did that. You know, I did that.
Got to be the worst advice. That has
From a radio show, which usually gives such good advice.
I was young. I was very young, and I was impressionable, and I thought, oh, that sounds like a good idea.
The best tip about list is posteriorities. It's the opposite of priorities. It's the stuff you're not going to do. Write it down.
When you keep it in your head, that works really well. You end up not doing a lot.
Oh, hey, we've got some tips in the comments. Mr. Marvin Mitchell, by the way, I miss you, Marvin. We used to work together. He's sharing some tips. Are these?
I like the ricardotips.ai.
Yeah.
Can you put them on the screen, Hannah? Can you press the button and it comes up through StreamYard?
Oh, I mean, I'm sure for someone who knows how to use StreamYard, this is.
If you click on comments, it should be there automatically. I can see
That's
them.
another Ricardo tip right there.
Yeah, there you go. Boom. 26th. That's Boxing Day tip right there.
Tip 32.
Keep going.
We're counting them.
I just need to build a Ricardo tip MCP server.
You do. I mean, externalize all of that knowledge. Put it. Give it to an agent. Give it to a tool. The world will benefit.
We all need more MCP servers.
So I actually don't know what happened when I clicked the button show comments on stage. So we're just going to go with it. That sounds.
It'll pop up at some point.
Yeah, it'll pop up sometime. So Shilpi, there are no live demos in your session, but it is an expert panel, and I'm very excited about it. We're talking about something that's very real for a lot of people, which is like using AI in regulated industries.
Yeah.
And I know that you do a podcast about AI security, and it's such a challenging field at the moment because everyone is trying to adopt AI technologies at like such a super fast speed, and your security team, like inside your own organization, if you have even a security team, like don't know what the answers are because we're all figuring this out together. Like, have you got any insights to share with us today? A little bit of a teaser for what you're going to be chatting about.
Absolutely. I'm actually really excited because I think the speakers on there like are gonna bring so much knowledge. So we've got Sean Catlett, like he used to lead security at Reddit and Slack. We have Pranita, who works for Lloyd Banking, Ashish, who runs the advisory. So he's speaking to a lot of people as well. So there is such a wealth of knowledge amongst all the panelists. And you're really right. Like, I mean, it is really, really difficult. A lot of organizations are doing a lot of things in AI. They're deploying a lot of things in AI, but securing it is a real challenge because there's a lot of fundamental things that we can bring on board, but there's a lot of things that are very, very brand new as well. You're literally having, I think I was talking to someone the other day and it's about like, we're almost having to like, everyone's learning about it. Like no one's an expert in this. I think even through the podcast, that's one thing we've figured out is no one really knows anything, you know, like everyone's like, you know, just learning by failing. And I think one thing I loved about like, you know, when Whitney and Ricardo spoke about their talk is like all the hands-on stuff. You know, that's so important because, you know, the more you trial, you kind of figure things out. So I think we're going to get a lot of gems from this because these are people who are doing things in the real world and just the reality of what it is. And it's a joke. I think I'm wearing one of her t-shirts, like all the buzzwords and all the, you know, everything that's coming out of Gen AI, everyone thinks it's all these things, but the reality of doing it in enterprise is very different. There are a lot of failed projects. There are a lot of, you know, policies and regulation. There's a lot of people pieces. There's governance. So there's all these things that are very real. So I think we're going to get into a bit of meat of it. So we kind of did catch up as a group and kind of speak about it. So I think people are going to be able to walk away with like real things that they can take away, not the buzzwords, not the, you know, AI is going to solve everything. And yeah, like all the MCP servers and everything. It's about, you know, what's going to actually, something you can take back. And it's equally important for developers and security professionals. And I think AI is kind of bringing these two things even closer together because I think hopefully security is going to be more inbuilt from the beginning, but we'll see. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. It's a great bunch of people that we'll be talking to.
Yeah, and I mean, I have ended up being really very cautious about MCP because one of the first demos that I ever had of it was from a security person, which demoed how you can use MCP to facilitate prompt injection. It was like, it doesn't mean that the protocol, like the standard isn't really good. Mm-hmm. It's just this really, it's a brand new attack vector potentially. And I think I've always been I went back to like all of the startups that I work with and I was just like, MCP is brilliant, but look, risk. Like, what are we going to do to like, and then no, literally, these are the conversations I had. Brilliant, but risk. Brilliant, but risk.
That's all technology, yeah.
Yeah.
Whenever I hear security people talking about AI, I picture the Muppet. I think his name is Beaker, the one with the long face with the worried expression and the hair. Yeah.
Oh no!
He's the best one.
See, this is what happens to security people all the time because they have to be worried about.
Yeah, I think we're just paranoid by nature, right? Like I think it happens. Like I've become like, so I haven't been in cybersecurity all my life. I moved from a different career, and I think you don't even realize it. You just become a paranoid person because that's just your go-to. Because you're waiting for things to break and your job is to like protect things from breaking. So it's a self-fulfilling prophecy almost.
Well, yeah. And I mean, I had like, when I was at Sneak and I was like, security folks were kind of my customers and my users. And I was talking to them a lot to understand their pain. And it is really difficult because most organizations, the ones that can afford even a single person to be dedicated to security, which is not most organizations, they are outnumbered massively. Yeah. And it's seen as a source of friction in a lot of places. Oh, you're slowing down. Like there's no business value attached to the accomplishment of a security team. It's only the lack of bad things happening. And so I'm a big fan of security teams now. I'm like, no. I
didn't mean to throw any shade at them. I just meant more like I feel empathy because AI is moving at this breakneck speed and people are really just like, screw the guardrails. We got to move forward. We got to beat the competition. And so
no shade at all.
Worried about
I just
that.
I have deep empathy for them as well.
Yeah.
And actually that's compounded by the fact that, you know, with everyone using AI coding tools, by default they don't generate secure code, right? So organizations have got to get their act together when it comes to security, because at the minimum, if they're using these AI coding tools, they need a whole bunch of other tools or processes to make sure they can review the code that these things spit out.
It's worse than that, Ricardo, because it doesn't just produce an insecure code, it's a plausible bullshit engine. So it looks like it might be secure, and you say it's secure, and it goes, yeah. And that's the difference between. There's a difference between a junior developer and an AI. AIs lie to you because they've got low self-esteem, right? They don't want to let. And a junior, but like, I'm not sure. Maybe you should check it for me.
Yeah, but then if you ask it, sorry.
I feel a new acronym coming on, the PBE, the plausible bullshit engine.
I'm telling that.
Now you've said it, it's going to be there.
Yeah. So I guess the PBE leads to a CVE, right?
Oh, that's a talk title in itself. Someone take that.
You know what? I'm already going to write it.
The PBE leads to a CVE.
You can credit me with that one. I came up with that.
Yeah, no, absolutely, JD. Attribution all the way.
So this is what happens now that I don't work like full time as a manager. This is what goes on in my head.
Acronyms.
It's true. They lie to you. They used to say at IBM, a machine should never be allowed to make a decision. But I think we should let ChatGPT make executive decisions, because most executives, like octopuses, are intelligent but lack spines. And it would be better. It would be better to let ChatGPT do it. Alternatively, you could roll a dice. And a lot of the problems at the top of organizations is either it's not poor decision making, it's a lack of decision making. So sometimes any direction is better than none. Simon Wardley talks about that. Like his tongue is not actually in cheek; he's serious. Like decision making could be really enhanced by, generative AI.
So the people who should be worried about their jobs are the higher level management positions, or what you're saying?
Well, the problem is nobody's convinced their bosses they should be replaced. It's starting at the bottom level, isn't it? I mean, there was a terrifying headline yesterday in The Guardian that most companies, it said, or many companies, are now looking for generative AI systems to do all their entry-level jobs. So what that means is there's a cohort of people now graduating this year or next year and the year before who literally have no job categories to step into. What are they going to do?
It's bonkers. It's not going to work. I can say that now. My first AI project, right, was 2015. I was working with IBM actually with Watson, and the biggest part of the project actually wasn't the technical side. It was the people change management side, and that particular bit was what we were looking at. We were looking at if AI can take away some of the tasks that at the time PwC were using graduates to do. The problem is that graduates over the first 2-3 years of their career, they learn through experience, they learn through bad judgment, mistakes, but they get better, right? And the whole process is you learn, you improve. And if you take those opportunities away from them, what do you end up with, right? So I'm a strong believer that if organizations do that, they're going to end up going in a bad direction myself, but that's just my view.
You have to be careful. People said that about the cloud. You have to. We don't know actually. We don't know for sure because people said, "Oh, if you don't learn C and pointers, you'll never learn memory." But no, after Java came out, nobody cared. Didn't matter. I'm not saying you're wrong, by the way. I'm just saying we don't exactly know.
No one knows.
Unfold.
No one knows.
By the way, I wrote a book about Watson. Just FYI.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So it was my first thing with AI. And what was interesting is actually IBM's approach to models, right, at the time. I don't know if they've changed, but you could train a model, but you would not own the model. You wouldn't own the IP for the model, right? They did, right? It was fascinating. It was a really super interesting project, right? Cost loads of money. Like I'm not going to say how much, but a lot, right? But it was very my first experience with AI.
You're getting more comments, Hannah.
I know.
You're getting more comments on LinkedIn. We're rocking LinkedIn's world on Friday night. I put my reading glasses
I mean,
back
you
on.
were all over the comments this time last week, Jamie. I don't know whether you were in the pub or just sat in your office with me.
What are you talking? That's what I'm like. I'm enthusiastic. I'm not on the pub at this time.
No, it's fabulous. It's fabulous. I encourage anyone who is listening. I think there are 9 people on the stream on LinkedIn right now. So if you're listening, do say hello. Thank you for being here with us. And also, if you're watching the recording, we thank you for joining in as well. You can also drop your comments at a future point. We will still be here and we will still reply to you. But yes, Jamie, you were talking about your book. Which because your book is awesome. Like it's so good. It's entertaining, and it taught me things about technology that I had no idea about. Like genuinely, like all of these stories, but it's about the people and the places where this technology came about. So I think it's absolutely fascinating. So if
what's the book?
The book is called Visionaries, Rebels, and Machines. It's the green thing behind Jamie on the back.
That's the hardback.
I don't have
Visionaries, Rebels, and Machines. Wait a minute, where's my reading glasses? Don't get old. It sucks. I've never worn glasses before. Now I have to wear glasses. I'm losing them. I keep sitting on them. I don't know what to do with them.
You're to get one of those necklaces to wear the glasses. Yeah.
Oh, right. I have one. They're amazing. I have one here that I use. It's nice and colourful. But the problem is it's not quite fit for purpose because it keeps falling off. So I've had to get another one. But they're definitely good.
It was my birthday in August, and every year I say to my wife and the kids, "Don't get me anything. I don't need anything. You're all in good health." And then this year they said, "We've got you something we need," and I said, "I fucking doubt it." And you know what they got me? 5 glasses strings. But now I've got loads of glasses all over the house and the office. I've got multiple pairs, so I just don't know how to wear glasses yet. Anyway, putting them back on. The subtitle is The Story of Humanity's Extraordinary Journey from Electrification to Cloudification. So that's the book. And it's tongue-in-cheek, it's narrative. So James Governor of Redmond posted on LinkedIn yesterday, and he said something like the narrative thrust, the verve, the energy. And I was kind of going for that. So I was like, oh, thank you for saying that. But it's all a trick. It's all a trick. And it's a trick because I love computing. I love computers. Computers are deeply woven into the universe, to the human race, to the machines we play with. But when I mention that, everybody goes, I don't want to talk about it. So I had to trick everybody by talking about people, the crimes they committed, the pre-war years, the post-war years. I had to tell everybody about Thomas Edison so that they could later understand Jeff Bezos. And I had to tell them about electricity as a service so I could explain to them what cloud as a service was. So like a sneaky little bastard, after relaxing the audience, I then start putting things in their head. This is a neural network. This is an exclusive OR. This is what cloud computing is. And none of them know. It was a big trick. So now they're all going around. They know a lot about computers and they don't know how that information got there. Well, I put it there. And that was the point of the book. And I think the second thing was there was a lot of chatter yesterday and the day before. I get the feeling that a lot of people picked the book up in August and have just finished it because the first 4 chapters are very, light, happy, fun. But then section 5 is no longer about the past, but the present and the future. And so this is what people have been describing as the dark turn in the book. But I had to do it. I had to do it because we have to hold ourselves to account. We have to hold big tech to account, and we have to own this shit. And in chapter 5, in section 5, I should say, I try to own it. So I just think a lot of people bought the book at the same time, and they all hit section 5 this week, with multiple people saying, I then needed to go out for a walk. And I was like, sorry, not sorry.
What's section 5 about then?
Do you want to know how it starts?
Yeah, read us a story.
Oh, yes, it's story time.
Sit it comfortably.
The problem with me is I think I'm still young, and therefore I say things like, do you remember Jack and Ori? And then people look at me like I'm daft.
Absolutely. Jack and
Do
Ori,
you
man.
remember Jack and Ori?
Yeah, of course, man, of course. That's my era.
I want to do Jack and Ori. I want to do Jack and Ori for computers. Wait a minute.
I'll do it with you, Jamie. We can do it together, right?
I need to try to find this section of the book. Oh yeah, wait a minute. I know where it is now. It's in the chapter entitled Unintended Consequences. Here we go. I've got it now. I've got it. Wait a minute. Are you ready? Do you want a reading? Do you want my podcast?
I think we're going to get one. Do you want it, Jamie? So you just go.
Do you want my posh voice?
Yes.
Yes.
I don't have a posh voice. I can't do it. This is the poshest I can do. This chapter, no, I'm serious. I'll do my own voice. This chapter is about the unintended consequences of the work we all do in computing. If upon reading this chapter you feel an overwhelming sense of terror, don't worry. that's a sign that you're still sane. That's how it begins.
Oh,
great.
leave us with that teaser.
That's how it begins. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to, so next week at the conference, just for the listeners' benefits, I'm going to be speaking about Marvin Minsky, Seymour Papert. The real learning moment in it is, what is the neuron? And actually, it's not as complex as you think. So I'll build the story up. The arrival of the neuron in about 1906. It didn't arrive on planet Earth. It was discovered in 1906 and how it worked. And then that built up in parallel with what you could call symbol manipulation, mathematics, physics, and all of that. And then in 1956, a man called Rosenblatt put a simulated neuron into the first neural network. So when you start with a neuron, think about the first neural networks. Before you know it, you've got a base understanding of how ChatGPT works. That's what I'll be doing in the keynote. So people can look forward to learning about that and the absolute awful skullduggery that occurred around about 1969. And you mentioned IBM. IBM don't like to talk about their dalliances with the Nazi Party during the Second World War. Well, Seymour Papert and Marvin Minsky have literally got blood on their hands. I won't spoil the surprise, but that's what you can all look forward to next week.
Gosh.
Wow.
Intrigue and murder.
It's a
I'll be
comedy.
attending everyone's talks. I'll be there.
Yeah,
So maybe my own.
Yeah, I was going to say, Ricardo, don't look so depressed. It's a comedy. It's good.
It's good. That's good. I'm just thinking I'm going to need to up my game. I'm going to need to put some something in my live coding to compete with that.
Like dancing, you were mentioning before.
You said the dancing on the stream last week. Leanne and Jeff revealed that they will be doing their talk in costume. I have seen a preview of the costumes. It's very good.
I'm going to be dressed as a middle-aged man.
That's it's very. I'm going to be cosplaying a middle-aged man in tech. I'm going to be dripping in sequins as always. But yeah, I wanted to go back to what you were talking about accountability and like taking ownership and responsibility of what we do with technology, Jamie, because one of the things that I keep coming back to, and it wasn't the original sort of emphasis of why I created this community, but what I've realized is that AI fluency is so important, because what I have experienced now that I'm sort of in this bubble and talking about AI a lot is that quite a lot of the time people talk past each other. Like they use a lot of the words that they've heard and they don't really understand the underlying technology. You can have a room of people like who think they're having a conversation about AI, and one person's like going, but what about sustainability, and what about scalability, and what about reliability, and we can't trust it, and we don't trust OpenAI. And there's lots and lots of conversations happening all at once, but they're actually very different conversations. They've got very different solutions, but while we're still talking across each other, we're not making progress. And so I think AI fluency and having that next level of vocabulary to talk about it, like, is something that I've realized is such a gift and such an amazing skill. But it's still very challenging when you're in a group of people who don't have that sort of common foundation. And if we can't have a good conversation about this technology, then what hope do we have of making good decisions and responsible decisions?
When people say AI, first of all, they probably mean Gen AI, but they could mean the other kind of AI. So that's already one thing that's conflated. And then when they're talking about AI, they could mean the model-y stuff that you have to train and fine-tuning and all of that jazz. They might mean the AI, like I'm building an AI feature into my software, or they might mean I'm using an AI assistant to help code. And everyone calls all four of those things AI. And could mean, and that's when you get people talking past each other. Sometimes I see people talking in different vectors.
It's absolutely true. Yeah.
There was a decent book, AI Snake Oil, and they start that book by saying the problem with AI is the following. Imagine if you had to describe every vehicle, a bike, a plane, a train, a car, whatever, as a vehicle, and then the headlines would just sound crazy. The London streets are full of vehicles. The skies above London are full of vehicles stacked up on each other. Vehicle ran the red light the other day and hit an old granny. It's like, it's not specific enough. And it is true. When we talk about AI, it's nearly always artificial neural networks, nearly always. And actually, once something becomes mainstream, like recommendation engines, we stop calling it AI anyway. So there is a naming issue, and the problem is you can't say to yourself, well, I'm not technical, so I don't care. Well, that's like saying I don't care about capitalism or money or bricks and mortar. We live in a capitalistic world. If you don't understand it, you are going to suffer. And I think there's no opting out of this anymore.
Yeah. That's very true.
Yeah.
Like, I think it's happened so quickly, and I think everyone's just being forced, like whether you work in any industry. Like, we speak to so many people who are not even in tech. AI is touching everyone, and there is so much like pressure for everyone to feel like they're doing something in it, but the information is just too much for anyone to keep up with. Like, a lot of these different things keep coming up, and also like just, I guess, being in tech, like all the product companies there, everyone latches onto different things, and a lot of people will be saying that I'm deploying something which isn't even true. Like, MCP is a great example. Like, everyone has an MCP server. Do you need one? Is it even relevant? We don't know. But I think people are really struggling. And to what you said, Hannah, like, I was looking at the schedule for the conference as well. I think it's so good because there's like, I think there's someone who's saying like AI versus dad. I think like those kind of things are really important because you go into like really these tech heavy conferences that are full of so much information. People are struggling to keep up. There's a lot coming. And like tomorrow, there's going to be another announcement that there's going to be new service come up, and you've not caught up with what's happened in the last couple of years. So the education piece is really important. But then where do people find the time? Because they're doing their day jobs and they already like, I mean, I can speak from security's behalf. Like, all the security issues have not been solved. Like, that were from like cloud is still a problem. Now we have to tackle AI on top of it. So
yeah. Oh no, it's so true. And I think we have to be a bit like we have to be a bit kind to ourselves sometimes, because the internet has always made us more aware of what we don't know, and it can all of a sudden all of this stuff that you don't know is like in your face all the time. There's all these people who know stuff, and you feel like you don't like. I think sometimes just in time learning is the best strategy. It's like, do I need to know this today?
Yesterday,
no,
actually,
I'm just going to make peace with that. Like,
yeah, they published the State of AI report yesterday. It's 270 slides. It takes a while to go through, but if you want to understand the current state of AI globally, it's the thing to read. It's amazing. It's free.
Who's they?
Sorry?
Who published it? Who's they?
Let me just find out. It's actually 313 slides. Actually, it's published by
McKinsey?
No, it's Air Street Capital. Nathan Bennett. They do it every year, so it's been published every year, and every year it's essential reading because you get absolute nuggets of knowledge in there. So, for example, it's basically split between technical, political, security, policy, and basically dives through kind of like the state of AI across those dimensions, right? And for example, it'll tell you about Nvidia's kind of like exposure in global markets and providers and that kind of thing. But it's definitely if you're kind of you talk about wanting to know what's going on, that for me, every year it comes out. It's been produced for the last 4 or 5 years. Is absolutely essential reading. And literally it got published yesterday.
And you've read it all 200 and something pages already?
313. Yeah, I spent yesterday reading it. Yeah. Well, only because I think, like you said, right, it's really important that everyone understands what's going on, especially for folks who work in the industry. You need to know, and I don't necessarily, understand all of it, but it's interesting to see because these are real data points, right? They're not just opinions; they're data points. Although you could argue where they get the data from, and maybe they do the methodology at the end. So I've got some questions around that, but I think it's still worth. I'm happy to share the link if people are interested.
I was about to ask, like, if you could, after we wrap up the stream, you could find that link, drop it in the comments for folks.
I was going to say you can just publish it on ricardotips.ai.
27. Got 27.
So keep going.
It's going to be a thing by the end of this.
I think one of the things that is not being spoken about, so it's good to know that they're mentioning policy stuff, but I think one of the interesting thing around policies is what's going to happen when all of this unemployment eventually kicks in. What's going to happen with social unrest and all of these things. And we have been here before, and it was tackled before. And I think there's a time bomb in society right now that nobody is really talking about.
Do you really think that's going to happen, though, Jamie? Do you really think that that this new wave of AI is actually going to lead to less need for people to work?
Yes, definitely. I think it's already happening.
Yeah, I have the opposite view. I have the complete opposite view. I don't. I mean, if you look at computing, right? When compilers were created, the people who were doing punch cards didn't panic, thinking, "Oh, we're out of a job," right? When higher level languages came out, the people who worked on compiling didn't worry. We've only ever improved the tooling and simplified and abstracted, made it more accessible. And each time, what we've kind of like more implemented Pevon's paradox, right, which is basically making it more equitable, more easy. Therefore, more people have used it. So, isn't that going to be the case with the AI?
It's not entirely true, because they were worried. So Adrian Cockcroft posted yesterday that 12 years ago, when the cloud was a thing, operations engineers were worried. Now, whether they were right to be worried is a different story. I had a fellow ask me a question. I do cover it in the book. It sort of jumped up when I told him about containers and configurable and programmable infrastructure. He had tears in his eyes, because he said to me, "How dare you say that could ever be automated away?" But I was right and he was wrong. And therefore, what's he doing with his skills now, that person? So when the crossover happens, most of us will be winners, but there will be a pocket of losers. The people who do that punch carding, right? Do you think that punch card people can be trained to program microcode just like that?
So actually, I've been in this situation back in when I first worked in IT in '89. I was implementing Novell networks and downsizing mainframes, right? So basically, I was getting people who were absolutely bedded to their mainframes and having to retrain them. And we didn't lose a single person in all the 2 or 3 years we were doing it. Yeah. I mean, they had different degrees of ability, yeah, absolutely, and they had different degrees of acceptance and whether they liked it, but they all were able to do it. The companies and organizations supported them through that, right? So I think that I think it comes down to as a society, we need to make sure that we kind of bring that kind of like learning and
I think one of the problem is, I obviously don't want to start a fight with you at all. I think it's a great discussion, but this idea of humans as a fungible token, I watched the miners' strikes live on television, and people just a bit older than me were flying pickets to the front line. And the Tory government of the 1980s says, "Don't worry, Yorkshiremen who have been down the mine for the last 25 years, you can retrain." And then what descended over the mining communities was utter hell for the next.
No, I get it. My dad was affected. My dad was one of the people who got basically kicked out of work. Right,
so people like us who have been to university and are used to learning new skills, we're going to be fine. We probably can go from punch cards to microcode, or just become all people in the corner, at least getting a salary. For most people in most jobs, I mean, this guy Suleiman pisses me off, the guy from Microsoft, because he's like, "Hey, the biggest superpower is you just got to learn. You just got to learn to learn." And I'm like, yes, all right, guy. So you're saying an insecure, difficult 16-year-old who's got neurodiverse challenges, comes from a broken home, is just going to learn like that? It's a fantasy, and it suits people who own the machinery, right? So. Okay, I will get back off my high horse.
No. I think I fall somewhere between you both on this, because I do think I've built agents, and I've built like teams of agents, and they can do the work. And I think we talked about it earlier of like the juniors in a consulting organization, things like that, like information retrieval, report writing, like they can do the work that would take like a junior person weeks to accomplish, and they can do it in less than an hour. And I think that changes the shape of organizations massively. And I think to deny that there will be some people who will be impacted by this is I think that's slightly naive. I also worry about there's a whole raft of people where new job creation is just not going to happen, like copywriters. It's going to be
can we play a game, Hannah? Like that. Can we play a quick game?
Yes, why not?
Okay, ready. Here's the last quote. It's not mine. 7/8 of the families hold but 1/8 of the national wealth, while but 1% of the families hold more than the remaining 99%. The game I want to play is, when was that written? What year?
I don't
Anyone
know.
who
The
wants to
language
begin?
makes it sound old.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. So regardless of technology, what's happening? That was written in 1906, and so I thought 1% was a new term. It's been around for forever, since the beginning of capitalism. If you look at the metrics, who owns what, we are now at 1906 levels. What came thereafter was the First World War and then the Second World War, which was arguably the same conflict. So that's the worrying thing. If you look at the economic indicators, millions of people fell into poverty in America and the United Kingdom in the last 3 or 4 years. Those numbers continue to climb. When there's no money and not much hope, society starts to come apart of the threads. So it doesn't matter about AI per se. What does matter is, what is technology doing to drive wealth inequality? And history tells us when that happens, bad things very quickly follow. That's the really scary thing about all of this.
Yeah, I mean, so just trying to end on a more positive light. I have.
Thank you, Ricardo, because I was just thinking the same thing. I was like, how am I going to turn this around? This is happy hour, not like doomsday hour.
My godson, who's in his 20s, right? He is he wants to run his own business, and so he occasionally asks me for help from how to do this and do that. But increasingly now, he doesn't need my help at all. And what I find, I spoke to him actually last week. We were sadly at a funeral, but we were chatting about how folks of his age are getting on. And what I learned and what I took away from it is that they're actually they want to do their own thing. They don't necessarily want to work for the man, right? They don't want to go to corporate. That's one thing. That's my daughter's at university. She does not want to go to corporate. She wants to do her own thing. But my daughter's using these tools that are available to her, which are they're effectively allowing her to do everything that she wants to do without having to go through third parties. And so for me, I'm optimistic that it is going to enable people. Whatever she's in fashion, right? So nothing to do with tech. She's using these tools to help her do her fashion, right? My godson does music, so he's using these tools to do music. So I'm incredibly optimistic at how these tools are helping these youngsters, right, the next generation, actually sort of find their own feet in the world, become entrepreneurs on their own terms. So I'm very positive.
Yes, yeah, and there's a lovely bit in your book, Jamie, about how kids playing with new tech is such a enormous source of innovation and change, because just like tinkering with stuff with zero objectives and no consequences is such an amazing way to learn, isn't it? And
also kids redefine how technology. If you look at Pew Research in the States, the Pew Research shows over the last 20 years that every generation of kids, they take the technology that's in front of them and they morph it to work how they want. So, for example, they create their own languages. They do, especially for example with the privacy and the fact you are as a product. They were morphing and creating private groups so they couldn't be tapped. Change the language so that all that kind of stuff. So it's very interesting how they.
Yeah, it's a very common recurring theme in technology. We talk about AI native, cloud native, but you go all the way back to the beginning. The heuristic or the lesson is, it's not those who invented technology, but those who are born into it that dictate what happens next.
Absolutely.
So you had telegraph native engineers, telephone native engineers, all the way up to us. And I'll be honest, I'm brilliant at distributed systems because that's the tech I grew up with. I'm a bit shit at AI. Because that's new. The new stuff I'm rubbish with. It's that ship has sailed for me.
But I think AI has also done
you can retrain.
I'd rather get drunk.
Shilpi, what were you saying?
No, I was just going to say that it's, I think one thing that I've also noticed, because I think AI is one of those technologies which has also like kind of impacted older people quite a bit. And I can speak this from my personal experience. Like, so my dad's like 75, he's heading towards retirement and he started using ChatGPT. So I like showed him how to use it. And he's become so much more independent. Like, he figures out problem because he has a co-pilot now. And if he wants to figure out, like, I think he was trying to sort out his internet or something at home. And he kind of, early on, it would have been a call to me going, blah, blah, blah has happened. Like, what do I do? And, there's this, we live in different countries as well. So like that has its own challenges as anyone who has parents overseas might know. But now he's like, he told me the other day, he's like, I'm just going to like ask ChatGPT. And like that sense of independence that he can do something on his own and having a co-pilot and he can figure things out. I think that is something like to what you were saying, Ricardo, there is definitely a positive line there. And I think we can't argue that fact that, yes, it's going to impact people. And there's some people who will struggle to onboard onto this. And it's just happening at a much faster pace than other technologies. So I think that's the other scary part. Like cloud happened over like 16 years. This is like 2-3 years. So it's much more compressed.
But the dark side of that is like, is it a lost opportunity for human connection where he goes to his daughter and asks for advice and you do something together?
Yeah, I mean, it depends. I mean, then we're getting into like, I guess, how every relationship is. Like, I still talk to him about a lot of things, but something that is, like there's a balance. Like, you don't want an older person to be completely reliant on one person. You want them to have their independence. But yeah, I mean, I still talk to him about everything else.
And I don't really mean you. I just mean like generally speaking, the more we can rely on ChatGPT or AI, Gen AI for these answers, the less we talk to each other.
Like
and the more
anything else, right? Like social media is the same. Like there's, people are not interacting with friends and looking at social media, but I think that just becomes like a really meta, like, world problem. But it's about like,
that's
you
where
use
we
it
are.
for, yeah. And I guess you use tools for what we are, but at the end of the day, as humans, we still have to make decisions that are right for us.
I think so when I put the book together, it turns out there was a thing I'd never heard of, the crossover decades. And the crossover decades, it's probably not measured in decades anymore, but years. But the crossover decades is a theme. It's when a technology arises and it is adopted in technology in society. And the problem is with Morse code, it was so far removed from the technology of the day, which was horses and letters. It was ridiculed for years. And so there's a crossover where a technology arrives and then some smart person finds use cases for it. And even back then, they said there's no use case for Morse code because I can just send a letter. And they're like, but it would be instant. And it's in those crossover decades that, in general, most of all of us will benefit in the end from technological changes, but there will be big winners and some losers. And the question around policy is, what do we do with the losers? And I think if it's a very clumsy, oh, shit happens, change comes, then you're going to get dissatisfied losers. If we as a society can sort of put safety nets in place for that, then you start to see a future that works for everybody. And I think, thank God I'm not a politician right now, because I think in terms of policy, that's a really difficult nut to crack.
Yeah, I'm gonna share my incredible dark humor sticker now. I love this sticker. I made these last year. I've just got another batch printed. The little monster who's chilling on the beach because AI took his job. It's dark, I know, because actually the monster doesn't want his job taken by AI.
Hannah, there's a comment has just come in about I don't believe in the born into assertion. I would just like to clarify that. What I meant by that was people who were coming of, it's better to say those who come of age in an era. So the people who built the PC came of age as it was being developed. They were also born in the time of mainframes. So I claim to be cloud native, but I was born in 76 when Commodore 64s were popular. So in the age of micro computers, but I came of age in the age of the internet. So just a small correction for that user. Sorry, and well spotted.
Lovely. And with that, I'm going to try and wrap us up now. This has been a wonderful conversation. I cannot thank you enough. Ricardo, Shilpi, Jamie, Whitney. You are all top of your game and you are incredible educators. And I cannot wait to hang out with you in person next week. For the folks who are still with us on the stream, thank you for joining us this Friday for our happy hour. We really hope you can hang out with us in person next week in London, 15th, 16th of October, Wednesday, Thursday next week. Bag a 25% off ticket with code LIVE25. If you go to aifortherestofus.live, you can have a look at all of the other speakers, because I will admit I am incredibly fussy about the folks who speak at my events, incredibly fussy. And if you think these folks today have been wise and interesting, then you have got so much more to look forward to.
We're the bottom of the barrel.
No, Whitney, I didn't mean it like that.
It's okay.
So yes,
it
can only get better from here. And with that, insulting my panelists, I will leave you for the week. Have a fabulous weekend. If you're watching this on the recording, thank you for joining us as well. And I will see you next Wednesday in person. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Hannah.
Bye.
Thanks, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.